Okay, now some state governments they've tried, to put in place laws to deter people from committing this kind of crime or punish. But you would think that it doesn't seem to be having that much effect if we still have this number of, kidnapping still going on. What do you think government can do differently? Yes, there are laws. What else do you think the government can do?
Enforcement. It's one thing to roll out measures to say that, okay, if you kidnap and you kill someone, you're going to hang him, you're going to shoot him. It's not enough deterrent, because other people have done it and have made a lot of money from it and have gotten away with it. People are still getting away with it because law enforcement is not hard enough on the perpetrators. You'll be surprised at what connivance they have with people on the side of the law in carrying out this business, so to speak. So what's to stop anybody from going into that line of business? It's criminality, but it's criminality that pays. So even if you say that you are going to put in draconian measures to stop Mr. A or B from being a kidnapper, when he measures that draconian measure with the amount of money his friend has made from it, he's emboldened to go into it because there is nothing stopping him from doing it. There is no law enforcement. Law enforcement is weak. So as long as we have institutions of law and order that are weak, you are not going to stop people from kidnapping. It won't stop. Okay.
Now, Mr. Kadiri says, institutions, security institutions are not strong enough to attack, this issue. But some people have also said that when people kidnap and they get the ransom and they even go ahead to share and enjoy their loot, this is another pointer that says someone else can go into it.
Yeah.
The police have said several times, don't pay ransom.
Yes.
But that's not what we see. It doesn't look like that's what we see.
The issue is there's a gap between the government law enforcement agencies and the relatives of the kidnappees. Because if you take a look at it, yes, I want to a little bit disagree with my professional colleague here that the law enforcement is weak. The law enforcement is not weak because the issue is they have rules of engagement. A typical example was a recent kidnap in Port Harcourt some times ago, I think about 3 months now, where an opportunist who knew the person that was kidnapped, he knows the relatives, and all he did was to pick his phone and call the relative that, well, is the head of the kidnappers and he has nothing to do with the kidnapping, so he's going to throw him out, so they should quickly go and pay money to the account number he's sending across to them. And the people quickly went to the police and gave the account number, and the police went to the bank, they dropped the money, waiting for the man to come and catch the money. Behold, when he entered to the bank to catch the money, he was a student. He didn't even know anything about the kidnapping. So those are the type of opportunities that we have in the community. So the government has the government security agencies in place, but we expect the communities to, on their own, not to sit down and wait for the government as first responder, the victim to be is the first responder. So they should go low profile. People should, the Lagosians, yes, typically they live along the creeks, but they are not Greekians. They don't know how to maneuver in Greek areas. So they should relocate from the Greek areas because the government does not plant policemen on the street there. Or rather, they should invite traders. They should invite people with commercial activities, people with fishing boats, people with trawlers. So they continue keeping themselves busy on those seas, and kidnappers will be distracted. And then the people in the community
is part of the government responsible. You quoted the Constitution that says the protection of lives and property is in the hands of the federal government.
Yes.
And vis-a-vis, based on that, trickle down to the police.
The people are the police. The police are the people.
No, but that's the job of the government and the security agency is protection of lives and property.
Great.
So it should be their job also to plan for the protection of the creek so that people can live wherever they want to live. But isn't that what it should be?
That's what it should be.
Okay, so why is the government not taking up its responsibility?
The government is taking up its responsibilities,
really?
And the government is doing much to ensure lives and properties are secured. But what we expect the community to do is to try as much as possible and support the government. And the government in turn should put in more effort to ensure that the community is safe.
Okay, let's look at that Isheri North estate that you talked about. The estate is fenced, is it not?
The estate is not fenced. Even the people that were kidnapped, they did not even know their coordinates. And the buildings were dispersed. And in a secured environment where you're looking at policy community, the houses are supposed to be well knitted, they're supposed to be coordinated, they're supposed to be a gated community, and the expanse of land in Kwetu, they should be compartmentalized. They should be divided into zones, and each zone should be gated. Security men should be at each gate. They must be talking. They must be communicating.
Who provides the security men?
It is the responsibility of the government, because the Lagos State government is funding community policing. They bought equipment for security watch. In fact, the state government have taken over some of the security duties that we do by ensuring the deployment of security men at the post.
This scenario, or whatever happened in Isheri, is just one of the several.
Which is related. And let me tell you, don't forget, kidnapping is in Isheri, and it will continue to remain there at least for now. Because the kidnappers in Isheri are those boys who are disengaged from pipeline vandalizations. And they live along the grids before now. They've been combating government forces. When the government now decided that, well, the issue of pipeline vandalization is a no-go area any longer, these same boys believe that the people in those communities, they benefited from them by buying their fuel at cheaper prices and selling at higher prices. They use the money in building those houses. And it is the same people that live in this area or in this area.
That is not substantiated, because you can't say that they had dealings with them, because we don't have evidence. But where I'm going is, some other people have been kidnapped, not even anywhere near the creek.
They are doing mass kidnapping now.
Wait, not even anywhere near the creek. You're driving on the expressway, and then somebody, just stops your car and kidnaps
you. That is instant kidnapping, express kidnapping, mass kidnapping. What they do now is to kidnap anybody they can lick, and they take them to the car, to the coast.
So now let's look at securing the people. Yes, we have, as individuals, we have the duty to protect ourselves.
Great.
You want to know who your neighbor is.
Yes.
You want to watch around the environment. You also want to, do certain things to protect yourself.
Yes.
But what do you do when you drive on the road and somebody, stops you, and then he said if you drive from Lagos to Benin, you hardly will see police.
Even within the state itself, forget about that long distance.
Okay, so
people should embark on what we call environmental security.
How do we feel safe?
We safe. If you think you are safe, then you are safe. People should practice.
Just by thinking.
People should stop looking at physical security as a measure. People should start looking at environmental security. And by definition, environment is your surrounding. It includes the life and the benefit you gain from it. So when you are thinking of yourself being secured, you are looking at the utilities, the benefit you have achieved within the environment, and then you now look at the security that is going to ensure that those things you have gained from that environment is secured, and you are not going to be deprived of it apart from war. And if it is a war, you equally want to ensure the end of that war does not deprive you of those facilities. So people should combine the environment with security, and that is what we call environmental security. Okay. So we are looking at a threat without an enemy now. So if you take a look at that, you discover that if you are cautious, you are communicating, and you ensure you have some protective equipment around you, which are minor in nature, to blindfold the people, to paralyze the individual so that you move into a safe place, great. You must make sure you are the first responder and not the police.
Mr. Shobo, we'll take a moment, and when we come back, Mr. Kadiri, you tell us, added to that environmental security, how do we end or curb kidnapping? We'll be back shortly. Please don't go away.
Thank you.
Welcome back. So, Mr. Kadiri, how do we curb or end kidnapping?
Now, based on...
besides environmental policing.
Based on what we just heard on the video we watched, now you can see that the security agencies are complaining about funding, basically. The police is complaining about funding. The Navy is complaining about funding, which brings us to what I said earlier, weak institutions of security. Now, the creeks in Isheri, for instance, ought to have the marine police patrolling those creeks. I don't think the police has enough boats for such functions, because they seem to have not to have enough boats patrolling the 5-Cowrie Creek. So how are they going to be able to stretch themselves thin from the 5-Cowrie Creek to the creeks at Isheri and beyond? Now, having said that, we as individuals have to be aware, abreast of taking care of ourselves regarding kidnap. There are simple measures we have to take. Do not be do not be ostentatious in your lifestyle. Do not have stickers in your car that say, oh, I work in Chevron. Do not wear your ID tags outside that I work in Chevron. Do not be the first to donate at the mosque function or the church function. Do not display your bank statements. Little things like this help to protect ourselves on an individual basis. Then as a community within your neighborhood watch, hold security meetings regularly. Try to know who the people in your neighborhood are, the strange faces, the familiar faces. If we are able to on our own personally secure ourselves, then the security agencies on their own will be able to put in their own positive inputs. Basically, security is everybody's business. However, we need the government's function is to protect lives and property, whether it's the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, what have you. We need to strengthen these bodies in order for us to have the best in terms of security. Nothing can be spared. Security is not cheap. You cannot look for a cost-effective measure of sponsoring the police. No. It's either we have a police force or we don't. So there are no cost-saving measures. There are no, how will I put it? There are no shortcuts to it. You either fund the police properly or you don't, or we keep having this problem.
All right, thank you. We have to go. Thank you so much, retired Colonel Najim Showo, security expert. Thank you, and Ahmed Kadiri, security expert as well. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much.
Science will be back shortly for the home stretch. Please don't go away.